Welcome back to our next lesson. There's some stuff on the screen there that you can have a read at in your own time. Let's move on. We're going to talk about subtraction of integers. And we're up to this point in our little work rate calendar, moving along before we get to our test at the end of next week. Subtracting integers. All right, as we started to see last time, a number like minus 14 is smaller than 5, even though it's got a 14 in there and you think that that's bigger than a 5. He has a negative on there and that makes it a smaller number. It is further down to the left on my number line. It's a more negative number, so hence it's a smaller number. All right, subtracting integers. Subtracting a number can sometimes give the same result as adding its opposite. If we look at a pattern, so if we start here, 7 minus 4 is 3, 7 minus 3, 2, 7 minus 1 is 6, 7 minus 0 is 7. Now, see my numbers here have decreased and I'm now at negative 1. 7 minus negative 1 is in fact 8. All right. So 7 minus negative 1 is the same as 7 plus 1. All right. What we've basically done here is we've subtracted a negative number. So as we say over here, this bloke's telling us subtracting a negative number is the same as adding its inverse. What do I mean? By inverse, I mean the opposite. So 7 minus negative 1 is the same as 7 plus positive 1. Oops, that didn't work. 7 plus positive 1, which is the same as we normally write it, 7 plus 1. Okay, think about it this way. It's like you could say that 2 wrongs make a right. Obviously they don't in the real world, but 2 negatives make a positive is what we mean. Let's have a look at some examples. 2 minus 5 is the first one I've got. If I start at 2 and I go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm at negative 3. Okay, in B, I've got negative 3 minus 6. I start at negative 3 and I subtract 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm now at negative 9. All right, they're reasonably straightforward ones. Let's move on. Now, further from what I just showed you then, which is the number line approach that we did last time, we can kind of think of them like this. 2 minus 5 is the same as 2 minus positive 5 is also the same as 2 plus negative 5. They are the same sum and you get the same answer. 3 minus negative 6, which is what's written here, is the same as 3 plus negative 6 is negative 9. Let's look at this one. 5 minus negative 3. You can think of that as 5 plus 3, which is 8. It's like we are going to subtract off a negative 3. So whereas this is getting smaller by 3, this means do the opposite of that, get smaller again. That's a way of thinking about it. Let's have a look at how we can write it out. So 5 minus negative 3 is the same as 5 plus positive 3 is the same as 5 plus 3 is 8. I'd suggest that this line is in there just to be nice. You don't necessarily have to write that out all the time. In the next one, we've got negative 5 minus negative 4. Now, the negative 5 part won't change. He's still negative 5. It's this bit in the middle that changes. 2 negatives make a positive. Negative 5 plus 4 is the sum we've now got. And when you work that out, it's negative 1. Here's an algebraic expression. We haven't done too much on algebra yet, but we'll just go with it. So we've got this question, a plus b minus c, but it tells us that a is negative 2, b is 1, and c is negative 5. So we've written out our problem, a plus b equals c. But instead of writing a, it told me that a was negative 2. So we write negative 2 in for a. It's like I'm writing this out again, but instead of an A, I write the number. Instead of a B, B is 1, I write 1. And C is -5, but it says minus C, so that minus is that one there. And then the -5 is the value of C, which is just that bit there. All right, so if we have a look at this, so I've written all over the screen. If we have a look at this bloke, we've got -2 plus 1 to start with. -2 plus 1 is -1. And then I deal with these two negatives and turn it into a positive. -1 plus 5 is 4. Okay, and that's just using my order of operations, my BODMAS, or that stuff. Positives and negatives from left to right. All right, I'll do a couple more. Newsflash in Freezonia announced that there was a record drop in temperature overnight. At 6 p.m. the temperature was 10 degrees, and by 4 a.m. it had fallen 25 degrees. So we've got to turn this into a maths problem. We started off at 10 degrees. That's a positive 10 degrees. So we're starting off at positive 10. But then by the time we got later in the night, it had fallen by 25 degrees. That means we can take 25 off that. So we've now got 10 plus -25, which is the same as 10 minus 25. All right. So that we can think of this as a positive 10 and this as a -25. We end up with 10 minus 25. You can work that out at minus 15. The temperature at 4 a.m. was -15. That's cold. All right, you can have a go at a few of these ones. I'll skip through. All right, just suffice to say, something like this one becomes 8 plus 5, -6 plus 9. Oops, where'd that go? 9, 0 plus 12. That's a tough one for you. That equals 12. All right, these ones here where we do the same sort of thing, but we think of things a bit differently. 8 plus what equals 0. It's like if I start at 8 on my number line and I want to end up at 0, how far have I got to go? You can count that. That's 8 steps. All right, but which way did I go? Did I go bigger? No, I went smaller by 8 steps. So I've subtracted 8 off it. So 8 plus -8 equals 0 is a way of writing that. All right, you can have a go at a few more of those. There's plenty of examples to have a go at. I highly recommend you have a go at the fruit splat game, which is this guy down the bottom here, for a little bit of fun. All right, have a go at the purple column in the middle there, where our little green arrow is pointing to. Thanks a lot.